Hi everyone, it's Tanya. I am going to take you step by step through the process of creating your own shirt for Scrap Pink with the Cricut and the heat press. So this is what you are going to receive. It's hard to see, but everything has already been, let's see if I can catch the light. It's already been cut out with the Cricut. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go get the weeding tool from me or from someone else. If you don't have one, we should have 2 or 3 here at the crop, and you're going to start to weed. Now it has a sharp tip, so let's not hurt ourselves. But the first thing you're going to want to do is you want to take off the overall piece. And so I am going to simply find a seam and catch it and pull. Okay, so as I pull, I'm going to be very, very careful around the words. So I'm going to just start, and I'm going to, right at the explanation point, I'm going to pull it off of the rest and just kind of rotate it as I go. This is just the outer rim, and it comes off very, very easy. I'm going to slide it all the way around. I get to down here, and then I'm going to start into my words. So before I start into my words, I actually am going to cut or tear. Mine just tore, so it's fine. The excess, and that all goes in the trash. You're not going to need any of that. So then what I want to do is I want to pull this section right here. So I'm going to zoom down so you can see that a little bit better, and I'm going to be very careful for this part because we have all of those letters. And so I'm just going to gently pull the top layer off. You want to be a little bit careful looking for those eyes. I'm going to pull as I go. Not the eyes, but the dots of the eyes. We don't want to separate those. So that is what I'm going to be super careful of. If it feels like it's too tricky to you, once you get to like this point, you can cut off what you have. Sometimes I feel like with the bigger images or the bigger graphics, it's a little bit easier. And I'm going to keep pulling. Again, the eye, I want to make sure I get the dot on the eye. There's ways you could fix it if you do lose it, so don't fret. But I want to try my best to keep those intact on the paper. I'm going to pull off around the edge until we get all of this off. And again, if it feels like it's too tricky, you can just kind of cut it as you go. But for the most part, it's going to stay attached. I am using brand new Cricut mats so that there won't be any releasing or bubbles. Sometimes if you use a mat that has already been used before, if you have like a little piece of scrap that you didn't get off, sometimes you don't even see it on the surface, then it messes up the iron-on materials. Okay, so there are 4 dots for 4 eyes. And before I throw away my paper, I just want to make sure that those stayed on the paper. If not, go back to the vinyl and pop them out. Whoops. But you can see all of mine stayed. So I have the eye in pink. Actually, there's 4, and then the dot for the explanation point. The eye in, the eye in believe, and then there's a tiny one down here in this pink. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom you in even more. I'm going to slide this up so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to come in and catch the inside, the pieces that I don't want. Now, you do want to make sure that you don't leave any vinyl. Like this little guy is stuck. I'm going to scratch him all the way off. Any vinyl on this material that you don't want. So if you accidentally leave a little scrap, when you go to iron it on, that little scrap is going to go there too. So just be cautious of that. I've had that happen once or twice. I'm getting much, much better. Now what I'm doing is I'm just pulling out with my weeding tool those little parts of the little letters. The big parts just kind of came right off, but the little ones we're having to pull out. Now, if it doesn't bother you, you could leave the centers of those letters in, but I think it looks better without the centers. In a sense, this is actually a lot easier than Cricut to paper because you don't have to worry about positioning all of these. They're still on the vinyl and you're good to go. Where the Cricut, you would have to position it in here, every one of these tiny, tiny letters. Okay, so we have Sassy Crop Scrap Pink 2021. I believe in pink, exclamation point, and there's nothing else there. Okay, so that part is all done. Now I'm going to slide it here, and this, it's going to work better if you were under a light, but you can see it just pulls right up. And so you are going to go through and you're going to peel, or weed is the appropriate term, all of the spaces within this heart. Okay, now sometimes you can catch the tool right up against the edge and it just peels right away. If you can't, you can kind of stab it and scratch a space that you don't want until you can catch that seam. Whatever works for you. And it's going to take a little while. I've already done one. I'm not exactly sure how long it took me because I was kind of trial and error, but I would say probably about 10-15 minutes to get all of these pieces done. Okay, so I'm going to actually stop the video, finish weeding, and then I will come back for the next steps through here. Okay, so now we have all of the weeding completely done. What you're going to do is you're going to pull carefully from your Cricut mat the entire overlay off. Okay, so it's going to look like that. Then I found that it is easier if you have a big space like this one. I'm going to cut, not super close, but I'm going to cut some of this excess off just to help a little bit. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but it helps me position it a little bit better. So I'm just kind of cutting. You don't want to cut in too close because then it could slide around a little bit. Okay, so then you're going to put this aside for a second. You're going to pull out your shirt and you're going to get the Cricut mat, which is kind of like an ironing board pad, I guess is the best thing for it. I believe that most of you should be fine with this. This shirt is Abigail's, so hers fits. She's pretty tiny, but if you're doing any for like a child, someone smaller than Abby, you probably are going to need to get a different cushion mat, whatever they're called, ironing mat. When I did my nephews, this would not fit inside their shirt, so this was not a good option. Okay, so you want to center the mat within your shirt, and it's going to take, let me scroll out just a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of wiggling to get it the way you want it. I try to square mine off and then pull it towards me. So here is the rim, you can see. Then what I try to do is just move the arms out of the way. And I want to make sure from the armpits or the seams that it's about even. So I just laid my fingers down like this. It looks like the cushion needs to go over just a little bit. Okay. So then the next thing that I typically do is I take the heat press, and I'm going to show you how to do the settings in a second. But I use it like an iron because I don't want any of my pieces to go on crooked or there to be like a little burp underneath. Okay, so that looks to me about right. Again, I want to just kind of double check. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that vinyl, and it's sticky, which is awesome. So it is going to hold down and stick to the paper or to the fabric. So I'm not pressing it down just yet. I want to make sure that about the center of the heart is about under the armpits, maybe just a little bit lower. Up to you. You don't want your space, well, you can do whatever you want, but you don't want it to be right up at the seam, because if you look at any of your shirts, like usually it's about, I'm wearing an Ohio State shirt now, go Buckeyes. It's about 2 inches on the shirt that I am wearing from the top here to where the graphic starts. But she is petite, so I just don't want it to be down too low. Okay, so if you want yours at an angle, this would be a good spot to go ahead and put it at an angle. I don't think she wanted hers at an angle, but you could. Make sure that there's no little specks. Remember I said that when you're doing the weeding, that if a little piece falls on here, that it'll iron right on. So you just want to kind of double check that you have all that. And then you're going to take your fingers and your hands and you're going to smooth it out. Okay, so that is what we're going to do with that. Now, the next thing that you are going to want to do, and I've already done this for you, but you will want to pull up, if you're doing this on your own, the Cricut.com, okay? And on there is a heat guide. And so you pull up the heat guide and you have to fill in a couple of answers. So I just did a glitter iron-on was my last project. I'm not doing that one, okay? So I want to come over here. I'm going to click on this, and this is Everyday Iron-On up at the top. Whoops, there we go. Is the material. My base material is 100% cotton shirt. So when I do the drop-down menu, it's going to go on that. And if you are using a nylon shirt or something else, then you're going to want to change that accordingly. The Cricut Easy Press Mat is this ironing pad. So you're going to click that. It also gives you the option of a towel. But since we have the mat and I've invested in it, I want you guys to use it. And then you're going to hit apply. And when you hit apply, you are going to show, it's going to, let's see if I can move it over so you can see it better. There we go. Tell you exactly what you need to set your Cricut Easy Press at. So it tells me 315 degrees for 30 seconds. Then it says light pressure, flip and press for 15 seconds, okay? And then the other thing that you need to know that's going to change depending on settings and material is slowly remove liner when cool to touch. So some of the ones with the heat press are going to say you need to remove it right away. Others, they want the liner or the film to be cool to touch, and that is the case for this one. So this is not something you have to remember. This is a tool that is on the Cricut.com website. There's also an app, I believe. So it's super, super easy to find out what your settings are, and it takes away all the hard work for you, okay? So understand that. Then you're going to look at the press, and I'm going to show it to you real quick. It's hot, but it is like an ironing board. It has its own, let me scroll down. It has its own platform, okay? Let's see if I can get it here. So basically you're gonna pick it up with your hand, and then when you're done, you're gonna return it to the platform. It doesn't even sit on the table, so it's not gonna mess up anything. You are gonna, when you turn it on, you're gonna hit the button, the power button. I already have it set to that 3:30 and the 30-second, but if it's not, you would hit the thermometer button, okay? And then you would up and down and set it to where it needs to be. So we need it at 3:30. So we're gonna, when it stops blinking, which it will in a second, it's set, okay? Then for the seconds, you're gonna hit the timer and then change it going up and down to however many seconds it says. And then it'll blink for a few times, and then it'll stay steady, and then you're ready to go. If the temperature is not ready, this button right here that you can see is green because I've already heated it up, will be red, okay? Once it is ready, then it'll be green. Now, if you get sidetracked or whatever else the case may be, it starts to beep at you. It'll go beep, 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 or something like that. That's just telling you it's a safety that it's been on. Are you still using it? And so all you have to do is touch any of the buttons on the heat press, and it will turn back. It'll stay on. So let me position this down a little bit so you can see. I have it where I want to be. So I'm going to simply pick up the heat press and put it on the top corner and hit the green light. And then I'm going to give it light pressure, so I'm not pressing down super heavy, I'm just pressing down lightly. And I'm going to wait for the timer to come all the way down. So it's going to take 30 seconds. Sammy's jumping up and down, sorry. Once the timer gets to the bottom, I'm going to move it onto another portion. You want to make sure you get all of the pieces down, okay? And then I'm going to reset the button. And I'm going to do that. So for this heart, I needed to do it 4 times to get over the entire space. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will come back to you. Okay, so now I have flipped the shirt to the back side. The mat is underneath the shirt. And now I am going to come in and do 15 seconds. Oops, you guys can't see that, sorry. 15 seconds, 4 times over. Sorry about that. So you'll hear the beep. That tells you that it's done. So I'm going to move it and hit the button again. And we're going to go each time. Next, what I'm going to do is take the press, put it back on the platform, and I'm going to let it cool down about 5-10 minutes. I want the film to be completely cool before I start removing the film. Okay, so now we have the shirt completely heat pressed. So we're going to slowly start down at the words, and we're going to pull off the film. And if you find, you want to do it slowly. If you find that, let's scoot it outside of the picture. If you find that it is not coming off, if you do it slowly, then if it hasn't transferred for whatever reason, then you can lay it back down and fix where it didn't come off. If you rip it off really fast, it's going to make it really hard. Kind of like when we're stamping, right? If we don't stamp the whole image, you can lay it back down into position. Okay, so this has come off completely clean, all of my words. And I'm just going to slowly pull this off. Now, again, just like I told you before, if it's easier for you to pull part of this and then cut it, if you feel like you can better manipulate it, then feel free to do that. It is sticky and it does like to go back down sometimes. I love this metallic gold. It is so pretty. Rose gold, excuse me. Like right here, it looks like it didn't quite, there's just one little spot. So what I'm going to do in that sense is I'm going to use my Easy Press, the mini, and just go over that one spot. It's like a tiny little iron. It's so cute. The little one is actually awesome as well if, say, something doesn't transfer or you make a mistake and you need to go back and cover it up. That's actually why I bought it. And I learned how to fix it on my big ones, but that's okay. Spot there that... If you are struggling, you might want to have someone help you because this is such a bigger piece. So I'm going to cut mine. And you see how I'm using my hand just to anchor it and pull it off. Now, as far as care and instructions for that, I've done several so far, and we have followed what Cricut suggested in that we have washed them on gentle, and then we have not put them in the dryer. We have just allowed them to hang dry. Now, I have gone and put them in the dryer for like, 1 minute, 2 minutes to fluff, because I don't like my shirts being like stiff and such, and that has been good. But there is your finished shirt. So yay, congratulations. I'm so excited you guys did this all by yourself. Now, if you want to put your name on the back or something on the back, then as long as you have that pad in between the front and the back, you could very simply do something on the back as well. And I will have extra of the same vinyl if that's something that you want to do. We can find a font that you like and put your name in the back, or if you want a quote on the back, or I know some of you guys have little individual little group names. You could do something like that. I know that Courtney was awesome at making shirts before, and she always came up with some really fun things too. So that is what you do. Enjoy, and I'm so glad and proud of you for finishing this task. Bye.